All right, y'all. Now it's time for a question from the audience. Thank you so much for leaving me voice notes in the Chani app. Here is this week's.
Hi, Chani, my Astro bestie. I have a question about Saturn returns. My
Love.
first Saturn return was a doozer, and I'm just finishing my second Saturn return, which was pretty intense and took me back to themes of my first Saturn return. So, my question to you is what now? I just want to take a minute and tell you I so appreciate you and your work and all that you do to make this world a better place. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, that's so sweet. What now? Well, we want to take those lessons. Like Saturn return is a seeding, right? We're closing one cycle, but we're beginning another one. And so when we move into the second Saturn return, which is around the age of 57 to 60, we're moving away from being in the beginning of our adulthood to being at the end of the really wild, frenetic, creative years of our life and moving into a new phase of being the crone, being the elder, being the wisdom holder, being the one who's not the gatekeeper, being the one who's like, look, I'm going to turn around to the 27-year-olds and the 30-year-olds and be like, hey, kid, I get it. Not kid, because that would be condescending, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, I've been there. And in fact, I've just been around the block a second time. I have knowledge and wisdom. Do you want some? This is when we move into the teacher role, the mentor role. And I'm not trying to say that you don't have full creative potential and energy, but it's different than the energy you had at 30, right? Like I'm 50 and my energy is very different than when I was 30. Like when I was 30, I just had energy for days and I got tired and stuff, but I had a lot of creative angst and I didn't know where to put it. And now my life is so honestly regimented and I know exactly what I have to do every single day. And my creative energy just gets poured into these portals and compartments. And I got to do this for the business and this for me and that for my family and this for the business and that for the business and this for me and that for the family and this for, I know where my energy is going. I'm much more conditioned to facilitate my talents. Whereas when I was 30, I had no idea. I was just like a little fledgling. I was still like a little maiden out there in the world. I was a very late bloomer, which means that I was very behind. But I feel much more in the saddle, much more in the seat, much more in my confidence in my 50s than I ever did in any part of my 30s. That's just me. But when I think about moving into my next Saturn return at the end of this decade, that's when it's like, okay, I've really done a lot of things. I've manifested a lot of things. I've understood my talents and how to work with them. What can I offer those that are coming up? Those that are like my own daughters, my own children. I'm old enough now to be your mom. I don't want to be, but I am. I'm old enough to be your big sister. I'm old enough to be your bestie. I'm old enough to be a little wiser. And by the time I get to my second Saturn return, I'm going to be in a much different position. I will have finished up something. So what are you finishing at the end of your second Saturn return? And then what are you beginning? And you don't have to be a literal teacher or a literal mentor, but it's good to think about okay, well, I have acquired all this wisdom. What do I want to do with it? How do I want to distribute it? Or how do I want to serve given the situations I've found my way through? Given my talents, given my strengths, what have I amassed through my experience? What wisdom have I gleaned? What pearls of wisdom do I want to take with me into this next cycle? And if I have one more Saturn cycle left, if it takes me to 90, maybe we'll live into 120, I don't know. But if I have one more full Saturn cycle left in me, what do I want to do? Saturn teaches us about the quality of time and that time is not eternal. I mean, time is eternal, but our time here is not because we live in a physical body and the physical body is not eternal. And so it really gets us to appreciate our time. What do you want to do with this next Saturn cycle? There's that, and what were the lessons that you learned from this latest one? How have you grown over the last 30 years since the last Saturn return? What is the most important thing for you to spend your time on now? How can you honor your wisdom? How can you honor your age? It's hard in a youth-obsessed culture. I'm not going to lie. It's really hard to age. It's all the things, but it's also our portal into a different way of being a creative being in the world. So there's that. And there's the fact that in about 7 years, you'll come to your first Saturn square. And that's when you get to see like, okay, the seed I planted at my second Saturn return have now started to take shape, have now grown into something. What has it grown into, and what is showing promise? So Saturn moves in 7-year cycles, or we can track it in 7-year increments. So there's birth to 7 years old, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to about 27, 28. And then we go on and on and on and on and on. So 7 years from the closing of your Saturn return will bring you into your Saturn first quarter square. And you get to see like, oh yes, there is new life emerging. And again, the Saturn return is like a new moon phase. It's the closing of one cycle and the opening of another one. So when you think about the opening of this next cycle, with all of the wisdom and all of the time you've spent and all the experience that you have, what is it that you want to move towards? What is worth your time, your energy, your effort, your talent? And what is no longer worth it? Let it go. Love and light goodbye, and move towards what is worth your time and what has longevity in it. And think about if you do want to teach or mentor or offer whatever it is you know to younger generations.